Okay. So we are solving quadratic inequalities. And the process of solving quadratic inequalities is not different from solving quadratic equations. The only difference is now in this case, we have an inequality. So not an equal sign. That's the only difference. So example is we have to solve x squared minus 5x minus 14, which is greater than 0. So you have to solve for the range of values of x, for which this curve is greater than 0. So to start the solution, we let y be equal to the curve. So in this case, when you compare the curve with the general quadratic form, that is ax squared plus bx plus c, then we can say that a is equal to 1. And this is greater than 0, that is, it is positive. So once it is positive, then we know the curve will have a minimum value. So if we will draw the graph and see the shape of the curve. This is your y-axis, this is your x-axis. Okay. So now we have to find the axis crossing point. So we find for the x-intercept, that is when y is equal to 0. Then we have that x squared minus 5x minus 14 is equal to 0. So there are so many ways of solving these quadratic equations. So in this case, we solve by factorization, because it is easy to factorize. So we have x squared minus 7x plus 2x minus 14 is equal to 0, because we can express minus 5x as a sum of two factors of minus 14, that is minus 7 and plus 2. Okay, so we group in two forms, x squared minus 7x in one bracket plus 2x minus 14 in another bracket, which is equal to 0. Then we factorize the common term out of the bracket. So when you see the first bracket, we have x in both terms, x squared and minus 7x. So we bring x out, then you have x minus 7 plus, then here we have 2, so we can bring 2 out, then you have x minus 7, which is equal to 0. So now you can have x plus 2, then x minus 7. And in this case, we can use the axiom of real numbers. When you multiply two real numbers, p kill, and the answer is 0, then either p is 0 or kill is 0. So here we are multiplying two real numbers, x plus 2 and x minus 7. And the answer is 0. So it means x plus 2 is 0 or x minus 7 is 0. Then we have that x is equal to minus 2 or x is equal to 7. So these 2 points are the axis crossing point. That is x equals minus 2 and x equal to 7. So now we go to the graph, and then we can identify -2 here and 7 there. This is just a sketch, not drawn to scale. So it means the curve will pass through -2 and +7 on the x-axis. So now we need to find the range of values of x for which the curve is positive. That is from the question. The question is asking for a positive value of the curve. That is, it should be always greater than 0. So we need to find the range of values of x for which the curve is always positive. Okay. So now from the graph, you can see that the curve above -2 is positive, and that of +7 is positive. So when x is less than -2 and x is greater than 7, it's positive. So let's draw the curve here once again, because we know that the curve A is greater than 0. Then the curve is in this form. So we have that the curve will pass through -2 and +7. Okay. So we see from the graph that the curve is positive. That is, it is greater than 0 when x is less than -2 and x is greater than 7. And it's indicated by the red line on the graph. And so therefore, the solution of x squared minus 5x minus 14 greater than 0 is x less than -2 and x greater than 7. Thank you.